Pterodome. Today I wanted to talk about a particular scene in the Lost World Jurassic Park. Just to give you some context, I haven't watched the original Jurassic Park movie in about 5 months, and I won't be watching it until November this year, when I briefly return back to Earth to go watch Jurassic Park at the Royal Albert Hall. But until then, I'm literally living in the 3 sequels. So what the filmmakers were trying to say with each film, how they all connect, and just study the world building that is presented in those 3 movies. But quite recently, only a few days ago, I started thinking about the San Diego incident in The Lost World, and I was thinking about how quite important this scene is. To me, it feels like the middle break between the 4 movies so far, or it's the turning point, even in the middle of The Lost World. And by that I mean that the whole story of The Lost World is Hammond trying to convince the public, that these dinosaurs are animals which need to be left alone in order to survive on that particular island. And by doing this, he sends Sarah Harding to the island and his team to go and study them. And then, if you've seen the film, his nephew goes there, Ludlow, and they then clash. And the whole film builds up to basically the public learning that dinosaurs are real. The guy on the train, the curious man who heckles Malcolm on the train, he obviously is evidence that people don't really believe what he says, even though he broke his NDA, and there's, InGen are covering up their mistakes. And so you kind of feel like that by the end of the film, the public have seen this T-Rex. Yes, it is scary. Yes, it is menacing. But with Sarah, and Malcolm getting the infant and rescuing it, eventually went to Hammond having his interview and explaining to the world, look, they're there, we have to leave them alone. And by Jurassic Park 3, we know they did. And a lot of people who don't like The Lost World, I always see this argument brought up that the San Diego incident feels tacked on, it feels like it shouldn't be there, it feels over the top, all this sort of stuff. Well, regardless of what you think of that scene, it is obviously a homage to the original Sir Arthur Conan Doyle book, The Lost World. In that book, they capture a pteranodon from the South American basin where they are staying, and bring this pteranodon back to London, where it creates havoc and escapes. And in the movie The Lost World from 1925, they bring a Brontosaurus, and there are other versions of the film where they do this, and obviously King Kong is a big homage to that. And in The Lost World, the boat is called the Ventura that brings the T-Rex to San Diego. So The Lost World is a big homage and a semi-remake of those old movies. And so to me, it never felt like it was tacked on, because the whole film, you've got Sarah talking about how the public should perceive T-Rexes as parents and this, that and the other. So it's all been laid down in the film. It's all a build up to that sequence. So even though, from behind the scenes and stuff that we know, Spielberg, he changed it. He went, right, let's remove the raptors off the boat. If you know what I'm talking about, there was another script with raptors on there. We remove all that, remove them, the characters hand gliding from the cliff tops and being attacked by pteranodons, and we'll have the Lost World ending where the T-Rex is loose in San Diego. And because of this sort of quick change Spielberg apparently had with changing the ending, some people like to point out inconsistencies with what's on the boat. I always read that people are confused by how the T-Rex got into the cargo hold, or how the doors closed behind it, how everyone died. And it's quite obvious, it's all on screen. The T-Rex was tranked by Roland, and when it's on a boat in the middle of the ocean, it freaks out. And obviously, as we can see on the deck of the ship, there's the smashed restraints, which we saw in only a few minutes ago in the movie. And so it obviously chased someone down into the cargo hold, or someone sacrificed themselves. However it went down, it still went into the cargo hold for whatever reason. I can't imagine a T-Rex just jumping overboard to try and swim away. And a guy who was dying, injured, closed the door behind it, as we can see the hand on the floor. So that never bothered me, the whole how the T-Rex got out and, the panic that ensued, and people probably jumped overboard, this, that and the other. But the thing that gets a lot of people is the hand hanging off the wheel in the wheelhouse, the severed hand. And how did the T-Rex kill this person without breaking the room? This has been a big question that's been going on since the film came out. I remember being a kid and thinking that was a bit weird. And I've always overlooked it. I've always, just ignored that sort of stuff. But watching the film recently, I've come to realise that there may be another answer, and I don't think that this is what the filmmakers had intended. I think this is a leftover bit, a bit of an inconsistency when filming. But I'll state this before I say my theory. Until the filmmakers prove me wrong, this is how it's going down in my head. I think that hand on the wheel is the hand of Nick Van Owen. Now, Nick Van Owen is a character who, when we're introduced to, he is cocky. He, said he joined Greenpeace, and when Malcolm said that was noble, he said, he was like, what drew you to that? And he said, money and women. Or he said women. And he said 86% female Greenpeace or whatever. And then Malcolm jokingly and sarcastically said, oh, that's noble, yeah, women. And then he's like, I'm waiting for Hammond's check to clear so we can go on this wild goose chase. So instantly we meet Nick, and he's a douchebag who only cares about money. And if you know the Jurassic Park film series, money doesn't get you anywhere good. Look at Dennis Nedry, takes a load of money from Dodson and does bad things. Look at Grant. Grant in the first film accepts this big, and Ellie accept this big paycheck off Hammond to go inspect the island, and then look what happens to them. And Billy in the third film, he steals raptor eggs to try and fund the dig site for a few more years. Obviously in Jurassic World, Masrani, and they're all worrying about the park. The whole thing is run on money. So, I feel like Nick Van Owen isn't meant to be looked at as a, to quote, good guy. Jurassic Park has never had full-on villains. It's had people with conflicting ideas. No one in Jurassic Park, in the film series so far, has twiddled a moustache and gone, I will kill you if you do this, blah, blah, blah. No one's doing that. Dennis Nedry, he is just a person who doesn't get appreciated, who just wants to get out, and he accepts a load of money to do this corporate espionage and leads him to bad things. Same with Ludlow. Ludlow wants to have his uncle's dream, but he goes about it in a different way to Hammond, and this, that, and the other. You get my point. And if you watch Nick's motives, he as I said, he cares about money, and he joined Greenpeace for women. He also gives Sarah his Nikon camera without warning her the batteries are dying, and when she uses the camera, it runs out of battery, putting her life in danger with the Stegosauruses. And then after that, Nick, he's going, I'm going to get loads of awards for this, and thank me later, all this sort of stuff. He's cocky about it. And then also, obviously, he's trying to take the bullets out of Ronan's gun. But anyway, my point is that I believe the hand in the wheelhouse of the ship is Nick's, because we don't see Nick after he's in the helicopter when they leave the island. After, let's just mention that Nick saves them all by calling rescue. So Nick does eventually save the day for everyone on the island, despite causing most of the incidents. But we don't see him ever again. And a lot of people have said, where does Nick go? What does he do? He's been in the film this long, and then he just disappears. I think that the chopper that they're in when they leave the island is this black, it looks like a Huey helicopter leaving the island. And I have a feeling that it stopped off at Costa Rica to drop them off. And in that time, Nick left them, chaperoned another boat, went back and intercepted the SS Ventura. We already know that he can talk to the locals of Costa Rica because we see him speaking different languages and all that sort of stuff. So it's not a stretch to think that he got there, quickly used his resources. Maybe he stole a boat, who knows? But he wanted to get that T-Rex. Wanted to stop that T-Rex from reaching the mainland because he'd just seen in the helicopter, after all the trouble they went through, he holds the bullets in his hand and goes, that's one souvenir they're not taking with them, and he drops them. Then he looks out the window and they see the T-Rex in restraints, so he must be like, I have to stop this. Like, it's almost in his head, his moral obligation to stop this T-Rex. So I have a feeling that he got on board, probably intermingled with the crew, and when the T-Rex started to wake up and all the shit went down, he started to get behind the wheel of the ship and and turn it around, or try to divert it or something. And in the panic, while this was all going on, while all this chaos was going on, the T-Rex was waking up, and everything was going wrong. The crew panicked, and I have a feeling that in order to stop Nick, they cut his hand off. They got into a fight, they swung, they tried to stop him, he wouldn't let go. They cut his hand off and either threw him overboard, or he got eaten by the T-Rex, or he's alive somewhere with no hand. This is a theory of mine, bear in mind. This is just something that dawned on me. I was like, it explains why the room isn't smashed. It explains where Nick went. And it sort of fits in with his character. I don't think his character would look out the window, see the T-Rex in restraints as he does, and then just bugger off and just go, nah. Because he would be with Ian Malcolm and Sarah Harding during the whole San Diego sequence. He would be there. He would be there with them. Why wouldn't he? Kelly, you can understand why she's not there. She's a kid. She's been through a traumatic event, and she's at home. But Nick disappears. So I have a feeling that is Nick's hand. And until I'm proven wrong, that is Nick's hand. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I've rambled on a little bit. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Have you got any interesting theories of what how you connect all the movies, how you fix certain holes in your head? Personally, this theory of mine, if you don't want to agree with it, that's completely fine. Like, I've made this up, but to me, that's how it went down. Anyway, have a good day, guys.